Do-hyun Kim looked out the window of the transport ship. He could see Nexus Station getting bigger as they got closer. The space prison was huge, shaped like a long tube that turned slowly among the stars. It held the worst criminals from all over the galaxy. Do-hyun felt his hands shake a little. Today was his first day as a prison guard. He had trained for months on Earth, but now the real job was about to begin. "Nervous?" asked Captain Minji Park. She sat across from him, her uniform, crisp and her eyes kind but strong. She had been a guard at Nexus Station for 15 years. "Yes," admitted Do-hyun. "Is it that easy to tell?" "Everyone is nervous on their first day," said Minji with a smile. "But you'll be fine. We humans have a certain advantage here." Do-hyun wasn't sure what she meant by that. He had graduated top of his class in the Earth Security Force, but he didn't feel like he had any special advantages right now. The ship slowed as it approached the station. With a soft bump and the sound of metal locks clicking, they docked at Nexus Station. The door of the ship opened with a hiss. Standing in the doorway was a tall woman in a black uniform with silver stars on the shoulders. She was nearly 2 meters tall with short black hair and a face that looked both kind and strict at the same time. "Welcome to Nexus Station, Officer Kim," she said in a deep voice. "I am Warden Sujin Bae." Do-hyun stood up straight and saluted. "Thank you, ma'am. I'm honored to be here." The warden shook his hand. Her grip was strong and sure. "I've read your file. Top scores in combat training and psychology. Very impressive." "Thank you, ma'am," said Do-hyun, trying not to stare at the 3 huge aliens standing behind her. The aliens were like nothing Do-hyun had ever seen before. They stood 3 meters tall with hard shells covering their bodies. They had 4 arms, each ending in claws that looked sharp enough to cut metal. Their eyes were large and black, watching Do-hyun with what seemed like fear. The warden saw him looking and smiled. "These are Vraxians. They work in the office, not as guards. In fact, we don't have any non-human guards here. That's our policy." "Ma'am, if I may ask," said Do-hyun, "why? These Vraxians look like they could rip through a wall with those claws." "That's exactly the kind of question I'd expect from someone who has never seen a Category 12 Deathworlder prisoner up close," said the warden, still smiling. "Follow me, Officer Kim. Your first lesson begins now." As they walked through the station, Do-hyun tried to take everything in. The halls were wide and tall, made to fit beings of many different sizes. The walls were a plain gray color and bright. Lights shone from the ceiling. Every 50 meters, there were heavy doors with guards standing next to them. "Nexus Station holds 5,000 prisoners from 200 different species," explained the warden as they walked. "Some are as small as your hand. Others are as big as a house, but they all have one thing in common." "They're all dangerous criminals?" guessed Do-hyun. "No," said the warden. "They all fear humans." Do-hyun was confused. He wasn't very big for a human, just 175 centimeters tall with a normal build. Why would aliens, some of them 3 times his size, be afraid of him? They stopped at a security door. The warden put her hand on a scanner, and the door opened. Inside was a room with many screens showing different parts of the prison. "This is security control," said the warden. "From here we can see everything that happens in the prison." She pointed to one of the screens. It showed a hall with cells on both sides. The beings in the cells were all different shapes and sizes. Some had too many limbs. Some had no limbs at all. Some looked like rocks or plants or things Do-hyun couldn't even describe. A human guard walked down the hall. As he passed, the aliens in the cells moved back, away from their doors. Even the biggest ones, which could easily crush a human, seemed afraid. "I don't understand," said Do-hyun. "Why are they afraid? Some of them are much stronger than humans." "That's the big secret of Nexus Station," said the warden, "and it's what you need to learn before you start work tomorrow." She touched a button, and a new image appeared on the main screen. It was a map of the galaxy, with different planets shown in different colors. "The Galactic Alliance sorts all planets by how dangerous they are to live on," explained the warden. "Category 1 planets are paradise worlds. Perfect weather, low gravity, no dangerous animals, plenty of food. Category 25 planets are the most extreme. Gas giants, molten worlds, planets with poison atmospheres. Earth is Category 12, said Do-hyun. He had learned this in school. Yes, said the warden. Earth is what the Alliance calls a death world. High gravity, extreme weather, dangerous predators, diseases, natural disasters. Most aliens think Earth is hell. They can't understand how anything could live there, let alone develop intelligence. She changed the image again. Now it showed a human body with labels pointing to different parts. And the beings that evolved on this hell planet? She pointed at the image. That's you, Do-hyun. That's all of us humans. A new voice joined the conversation. What the warden is trying to say is that to most aliens you're a walking nightmare. Do-hyun turned to see an older man with gray hair and a weathered face. He wore the same uniform as the warden, but with different badges. This is Chief Security Officer Tae-hyun, said the warden. He's been here since the station opened 20 years ago. Nice to meet you, sir, said Do-hyun, shaking the man's hand. The thing you need to understand, said Tae-hyun, is that humans are scary to most aliens. We evolved on a planet that would kill them in minutes. Our bodies are built to survive conditions they can't even imagine. But I'm not that strong, said Do-hyun. I'm just normal. You're normal for a human, said Tae-hyun. But to them, you're a monster. The warden nodded. A monster who can breathe poison, who has metal in his bones, who eats plants and animals that would kill them, who can heal from injuries that would be fatal to them, and worst of all, a monster who never stops coming, finished Tae-hyun. Humans are pursuit predators. We don't ambush or use poison or speed. We just keep going until our prey is too tired to run anymore. To most aliens, that's the scariest thing in the universe. Do-hyun looked at the screen again, at the aliens shrinking back from the human guard. He saw them differently now. They weren't just prisoners. They were beings who thought they were being guarded by monsters. Tomorrow you start your first shift in Block D, said the warden. Remember what you learned today. You don't need to be cruel or harsh. Just being human is enough. As Do-hyun followed them out of the room, he felt different, stronger somehow, more confident. He had come to Nexus Station thinking he was just a normal person doing a job. Now he knew the truth. He was a Deathworlder. And in the eyes of the galaxy, that made him something to fear. Do-hyun walked next to Warden Bay through the long metal hallway. His new boots made loud sounds on the floor. The prison was huge, with many levels and sections. Do-hyun tried to remember the map he had studied, but it was hard. This way to the security center, said Warden Bay. Her voice was calm but strong. Everyone they passed stood up straighter when they saw her. The security center doors opened with a soft hiss. Inside, the large room was filled with screens showing every part of the prison. Guards sat at control panels, watching the aliens in their cells. Sit down, Warden Bay told Do-hyun, pointing to an empty chair. It's time you learn why you're really here. She pressed a button, and a big 3D map appeared in the middle of the room. It showed many planets and stars. This is the Galactic Alliance map, she explained. Every planet where thinking beings live is given a number. The number tells how dangerous that planet is. Do-hyun nodded. He had learned this in school, but he had never seen the full map before. Earth is a Category 12 planet, Warden Bay continued. That means it's one of the most dangerous places in the known galaxy. I know that, said Do-hyun. High gravity, wild weather, lots of predators. Warden Bay smiled. That's what they teach in basic school. But there's more to it. She zoomed in on Earth in the map. To most aliens, Earth is pure hell. The oxygen would burn their lungs. The gravity would crush their bones. The bacteria would eat them alive. The water would melt their skin. She touched another button. A new image showed up, a human body, with all its parts labeled. And the creatures that evolved on this hell planet, she pointed at the human diagram. That's you, Do-hyun. That's all of us humans. We're the monsters that shouldn't exist. Do-hyun laughed, but Warden Bay didn't smile back. I'm serious, she said. Look at yourself. Your bones are made of metal, calcium. You have acid in your stomach that can dissolve metal. Your immune system attacks and kills foreign bodies. You heal from wounds that would kill most aliens. You can lose parts of your body and live. You can even survive damage to your brain. Do-hyun stopped laughing. When she put it that way, humans did sound scary. But the worst part? Warden Bay leaned closer. Humans never stop. We evolved as pursuit hunters. We chase prey until it falls from being tired. No other thinking species in the galaxy hunts this way. A new voice joined the conversation. What the warden is saying is that you're basically the boogeyman to these aliens. Do-hyun turned to see an older man with gray hair. He wore the same uniform as Do-hyun but with more badges. This is Chief Security Officer Tae-hyun, said Warden Bay. He's been here since the prison opened. Nice to meet you, said Tae-hyun, shaking Do-hyun's hand. Let me show you something that will help you understand. He went to a control panel and typed something. One of the big screens changed to show a very tall, six-armed alien. It paced in its cell, its skin shiny like metal. But when a human guard walked past, the alien moved to the back of its cell and stood very still. That's Cranks, a Durlan warlord, explained Tae-hyun. On his planet, he killed hundreds of beings with his bare hands. He's 3 times stronger than the strongest human. But watch what happens when Officer Jinwoo stands at his door. On the screen, a short human guard stopped in front of the cell. He wasn't very big or scary looking, but the huge alien sat down on the floor and wouldn't look at the human. I don't understand, said Do-hyun. Why is it afraid? It could easily kill that guard. That's because you're thinking like a human, said Tae-hyun. To Cranks, Officer Jinwoo is a nightmare creature, a being that evolved on a death planet, a predator that never stops coming. Warden Bay nodded. Humans are naturally scary to most aliens, but it's more than that. We're unpredictable to them. Most species fight in simple ways. They charge when angry, run when scared. But humans? We make plans. We set traps. We use tools. We work together. We adapt during a fight. Tae-hyun laughed. And sometimes we're just plain crazy. There's a story about the first human-alien war. A human soldier jumped on an alien tank with just a grenade. No alien would ever do something so suicidal. That scared them more than our weapons. Do-hyun was quiet for a moment, thinking about all this. Then he asked, So that's why all the guards here are human? Because the aliens are afraid of us? Exactly, said Warden Bay. Before humans joined the Galactic Alliance, prison breaks were common. Physical walls can't always hold aliens with advanced technology or special powers, but psychological walls? She tapped her head. Those are much stronger. She stood up and gestured for Do-hyun to follow her to another screen. This one showed different parts of the prison. In each view, the alien prisoners kept their distance from the human guards. We don't need to be stronger or faster than the inmates, she explained. We just need to be human. To them, that's scary enough. But what if they figure out we're not that dangerous? Asked Do-hyun. What if they stop being afraid? Tae-hyun laughed. That's the beauty of it, kid. It's not something they can think their way out of. The fear is built into their evolution, just like your instinct to jump when you see a snake. They can't help it. Warden Bay nodded. That's why the Alliance came to Earth looking for guards. They needed natural monsters who could also follow rules and be fair. They needed humans. She put her hand on Do-hyun's shoulder. Now you know the truth. You're not just here to watch the inmates. You're here because simply being human makes you the perfect guard. Do-hyun looked at the screens again. He saw the aliens in their cells, the human guards walking past. Everything looked different. Now ready for your first patrol? Asked Tae-hyun. Do-hyun stood up straighter. He felt proud of being human in a way he never had before. Yes, sir, he said. I'm ready. As they left the security center, Do-hyun saw his reflection in a shiny panel. He didn't look scary to himself. But to the aliens in the cells, he was a walking nightmare, a Deathworlder who had come to guard them. And somehow, that was enough. 3 months had passed since Do-hyun started working at Nexus Station. He now knew his way around the big space prison. The aliens in his section Block D knew him too. They stayed away when he walked by. They did what he told them to do. Life had become normal, almost boring. Do-hyun stood at his post watching the aliens in the common area. Some played simple games. Others just sat alone. None of them made trouble when humans were watching. Getting used to it? Asked Minji. She had been Do-hyun's guide since his first day. Yes, said Do-hyun. It's easier than I thought it would be. Minji smiled. Don't get too comfortable. This is Block D. The easy prisoners are here. The real monsters are in Block H. Just as she said this, a loud alarm started to ring. Red lights flashed in the hallways. A voice came over the speakers. All guards, emergency in Block H. This is not a drill. Repeat, emergency in Block H. Do-hyun's heart beat faster. He had trained for this, but it was his first real emergency. Let's go, said Minji, already running. Grab your shock baton. Do-hyun took his weapon from its holder on the wall and followed her. All around them, other guards were running too. They all met in the main security room. Warden Bae stood there, looking at a big screen. On it, Do-hyun could see broken furniture and damaged walls. Something had happened in Block H. Listen up, said the warden. Someone cut the power to Block H's cell doors. 3 Sardaxian prisoners are loose. Many of the guards looked worried. Do-hyun had heard about Sardaxians. They came from a heavy world with poison air. Their bodies were covered in hard plates like armor. They had long, sharp claws and could spit acid. They were some of the most dangerous beings in the galaxy. Teams of 3, ordered Warden Bae. Full armor, use shock batons only. No killing unless there is no other choice. Do-hyun raised his hand. Ma'am, what about the Vraxian staff? They're big and strong. Couldn't they help? The warden shook her head. The Vraxians? They'd be dead in seconds. Sardaxians hunt and eat creatures twice their size. No, this is why we hire humans. Chief Taehyun walked over to Do-hyun. Remember your training. Sardaxians have a weak spot at the base of their neck. They're fast, but get tired quickly. Not like humans. We can keep going longer. Team 1 with me, called Minji. We're going to the east side of Block H. Do-hyun, you're with us. Do-hyun followed Minji and another guard named Sung-ho. They put on their armor as they walked. It was light, but strong, made to stop claws and acid. As they got closer to Block H, they could hear loud crashes and angry roars. The sounds of things breaking, the sounds of danger. Stay together, Minji reminded them. Work as a team. Sardaxians always attack alone. That's their weakness. They entered Block H through a side door. Inside, it looked like a storm had hit. Tables were broken. Walls had burn marks from acid. 2 guards sat on the floor, hurt but alive. A medical team was helping them. What happened? Minji asked one of the hurt guards. The power went out, he said, holding his arm where a bandage was wrapped. Then the cell doors opened. The Sardaxians came out right away. They knew it was their chance. Where are they now? Asked Do-hyun. 2 are in the big room at the end of this hall, said the guard. The 3rd one is in the air pipes, trying to get to the control room. Warden Bae joined them, wearing her own armor. Team 1, go after the 2 in the big room. Team 2, with me to stop the one in the pipes. Do-hyun, Minji, and Sung-ho moved carefully down the hall. The sounds of destruction got louder. When they reached the door to the big room, Minji held up her hand to stop them. Pattern Epsilon, she whispered. Do-hyun nodded. He knew what to do. When Minji gave the signal, they went into the room spread out in a half-circle shape. The room was huge, with tables and chairs for prisoners to eat and talk, but now it was mostly broken pieces. In the middle of the mess stood 2 Sardaxians. Do-hyun had seen pictures, but the real things were much scarier. They were almost 3 meters tall, with dark green skin covered in thick plates. Their long arms ended in claws that looked like they could cut through metal. Their mouths were full of sharp teeth, and a green liquid dripped from their skin that made the floor smoke where it fell. The Sardaxians saw the humans right away. Their yellow eyes locked onto the guards. Do-hyun's hand tightened on his shock baton. He was afraid, but he remembered his training. What happened next surprised him. The Sardaxians didn't attack. They didn't rush at the guards with claws swinging. Instead, they ran for the doors on the other side of the room trying to get away. "Don't let them escape," shouted Minji. The team moved quickly. They used their batons to push the Sardaxians away from the doors. The aliens hissed and spit acid, but they kept trying to get around the humans, not through them. It took 20 minutes of careful work. The humans stayed together, never letting the Sardaxians get past them. They herded the aliens into a corner where Sungho activated a portable energy field. The blue light snapped on, and the Sardaxians were trapped again. Do-hyun was breathing hard, but he felt good. They had done it without anyone getting hurt. Later they learned that Team 2 had caught the third Sardaxian in the air pipes. All the escaped prisoners were back in their cells. The prison was safe again. That night, Do-hyun found Chief Taehyun in the staff room. "Can I ask you something?" said Do-hyun. "Sure, kid," Taehyun answered. "The Sardaxians, they could have killed us. One swipe of those claws would cut right through our armor. But they didn't even try to fight us. They just wanted to get away." Taehyun nodded. "Now you're starting to understand. To them, we're not just guards. We're the monsters from their worst dreams. But they're bigger and stronger," said Do-hyun. "Size isn't everything," said Taehyun. "Think about it. Sardaxians are ambush hunters. They hide, then jump out and kill quickly. But what happens when the prey doesn't die? What happens when the prey keeps coming no matter what? That's us, that's humans." Do-hyun thought about it. "So they're more afraid of us than we are of them." "Exactly," said Taehyun. "They know they can hurt us, maybe even kill one or two of us. But they also know we won't stop. More humans will come, and we'll hunt them down, no matter how long it takes. To a Sardaxian, that's the scariest thing in the universe." Do-hyun looked at his hands. They seemed so normal to him. But to the aliens in this prison, his hands belonged to a creature that shouldn't exist. A Deathworlder. A human. "Get some rest," said Taehyun. "Tomorrow is another day of being the monster that guards the monsters." Do-hyun nodded and headed to his room. As he walked, he noticed the alien staff members moved out of his way. They always had, but now he understood why. To them, he was something to fear. And in this prison, that fear kept everyone safe. 2 weeks after the escape attempt, Do-hyun sat in the staff lunchroom eating his meal. He had been thinking a lot about the Sardaxians and how they had acted during the escape. "Officer Kim," said a voice. "Please come to my office when you finish eating." Do-hyun looked up to see Warden Bae standing by his table. Her face was serious. "Yes, ma'am," he said. "Is something wrong?" "Not wrong," she answered, "but important. Don't rush your meal. Come when you're done." 20 minutes later, Do-hyun stood. Outside the warden's office, he knocked on the door. "Come in," called Warden Bae. The office was large with a window that looked out into space. A giant planet with orange and blue clouds filled most of the view. On one wall hung an old sword from Earth. It looked very old but still sharp. "Do you like my sword?" asked the warden, seeing where Do-hyun was looking. "It's from Japan, over 600 years old." "It's beautiful," said Do-hyun. "I called you here for a reason," said Warden Bae, sitting down at her desk. "Captain Minji says you did very well during the Sardaxian incident. You kept calm and followed your training." "Thank you, ma'am. But more importantly, you're asking the right questions." She pressed her finger on a scanner on her desk. A light flashed green and a hidden screen appeared on the wall. "What I'm about to show you is secret," she said. "Only our best guards get to see this information." The screen showed pictures of the first meetings between humans and aliens. Do-hyun had seen some of these pictures in school, but not all of them. "When humans first met the Galactic Alliance, we were surprised to learn we were called Deathworlders," said Warden Bae. "We thought it just meant Earth was a bit rough. It took us years to understand what it really meant. The pictures changed to show aliens in what looked like special rooms or suits. Most thinking beings in the galaxy evolved on worlds we would think are paradise," she explained. "No big temperature changes, low gravity, few dangerous animals, lots of food. Their bodies work well in those places, but they can't adapt to different conditions." The screen now showed humans living in many different places. hot deserts, cold mountains, underwater cities, and space stations. But humans? The warden pointed at the screen. We can live almost anywhere. Our bodies can handle big changes. We can eat foods that would kill other beings. We breathe what many aliens think is poison. Oxygen in our levels would burn their lungs. Do-hyun stared at the screen as more pictures showed up. Humans working in places that would kill most aliens. Even gravity is a problem for them. Continued the warden. Earth's gravity is so strong that many alien visitors need special suits just to stand up during meetings with us. So the prison system, began Do-hyun, is built around this fact, finished Warden Bay. Before humans became guards, prisoners escaped all the time. Physical walls can't always stop smart aliens with advanced technology. But fear? She tapped her head. Fear works much better. She showed more pictures, security videos from the prison. In each one, aliens moved away from human guards, even when the guards were smaller than them. To most of our prisoners, humans are their worst nightmares, said the warden. We're the monsters that shouldn't exist. We can live through things that would kill them. We can chase without getting tired. We can recover from bad injuries. Do-hyun thought about this. But they don't attack us because they're afraid? That doesn't make sense. When animals are afraid, they often attack. Good question, said Warden Bay, looking pleased. It's more complicated than just fear. It's about what they can predict. Most species attack in simple ways when they feel trapped. But humans? We make plans. We use tools. We work together. We change our plans during a fight. To most aliens, that makes us hard to predict, which makes us scary. She stood up and walked to the window, looking at the giant planet outside. The Alliance found this out by accident during the Proxima War, she said. A small group of human soldiers held back an army 10 times their size. Not because they had better weapons, but because the aliens just wouldn't fight them directly. I've noticed the prisoners seem to react differently to different guards, said Do-hyun. Another good observation, said the warden. Even though they fear all humans, they can tell which ones are more dangerous. Experienced guards like Chief Tae-hyun seem more threatening than new guards. Female guards don't seem less dangerous than male guards. Just different. She turned back to Do-hyun with a serious look. This information comes with responsibility. Officer Kim. Understanding why we're here is important, but it shouldn't make you feel too confident. The moment we forget these beings are dangerous in their own ways is the moment we fail at our job. I understand, said Do-hyun. Good, said Warden Bay. There's one more thing you should know. She went back to her desk and pressed another button. The screen showed a map of the prison, but with areas Do-hyun had never seen before. This prison doesn't just hold dangerous criminals, she said. It also protects important secrets. The lowest levels contain information that could hurt the peace between worlds if it got out. What kind of information? Asked Do-hyun. The kind that changes how people see the universe, said the warden. For example, did you know that humans aren't the only Deathworlders? There are others, but the Alliance keeps them separate. They worry about what would happen if Deathworlders joined together. Do-hyun was shocked. There are others like us? Not exactly like us, said Warden Bay, but beings that evolved on tough worlds. The Razak, the Vor, the Tundari, each different, but all scary to the Alliance races. Why are we the ones who get to be guards then? Asked Do-hyun. Because of all the Deathworlders, humans are the most... She paused, looking for the right word. The most balanced. We're scary enough to keep prisoners in line, but social enough to follow rules and work together. The others aren't as good. At that part, the warden turned off the screen. That's enough for today. You've earned the right to know these things, Officer Kim. Use this knowledge well. As Do-hyun left the office, his mind was full of new thoughts. The prison was more than it seemed. The galaxy was more than he had been taught. And humans, his own kind, were both monsters and protectors, feared and needed. He had a new sense of pride in his work. He wasn't just watching criminals, he was guarding the peace of the galaxy, using the very thing that made others fear him, his humanity. 1 year had passed since Do-Yun first came to Nexus Station. He was now one of the best guards in the prison. The aliens in his section were always quiet and followed the rules. Do-Yun understood them better now. He knew why they feared humans and how to use that fear in a fair way. One morning, Captain Minji came to find him during breakfast. "Do-Yun, we have a special job today," she said, sitting down across from him. "A new prisoner is coming in. Very important." "What kind of prisoner?" asked Do-Yun. "A Malgarian diplomat," said Minji, "caught selling weapons to bad groups. The Alliance wants us to keep him safe and secure." Do-Yun nodded. He knew about Malgarians. They came from a world with very low gravity and perfect weather all the time. Their bodies were tall and thin, with skin that shone like pearls. They were known for being very smart but physically weak. "The transport ship arrives in 2 hours," said Minji. "I want you to be the main guard for this prisoner." 2 hours later, Do-Yun stood at the docking area with 2 other guards. The airlock door opened with a hiss of air. 2 Alliance peacekeepers walked out with a Malgarian between them. The alien was in special cuffs that glowed blue. "This is prisoner 7729G, said one of the peacekeepers. "His diplomat status is gone. He will serve 15 years for crimes against the Alliance." Do-Hyun stepped forward. "I accept custody of the prisoner." The Malgarian looked at Do-Hyun. His eyes were large and silver with no pupils. Most new aliens showed fear when they first saw a human up close. But this Malgarian just stared at Do-Hyun with a cold, studying look. "Move along," said Do-Hyun, pointing down the hall. "We're going to processing." As they walked through the station, Do-Hyun noticed something strange. The Malgarian moved with confidence. He looked at all the security systems with interest. This was not normal for a new prisoner. "You seem very calm for someone who just arrived at a high-security prison," said Do-Hyun. The Malgarian smiled, showing teeth that had been filed to sharp points. "I have studied your kind extensively, human. I am not impressed." Warning bells rang in Do-Hyun's mind. This was very unusual behavior. In the processing center, the Malgarian went through all the standard steps. The computer scanned his body. A doctor checked his health. Guards searched for hidden items. Nothing unusual showed up, but Do-Hyun still felt that something was wrong. That night, he talked to Chief Tae-hyun and Warden Bae about his concerns. "Something's not right about this new prisoner," he said. "He's not afraid of humans at all, and he knows too much about our systems." "I trust your instincts," said the warden. "What do you think we should do?" "More cameras in his cell," said Do-Hyun. "Random checks at different times, and I want to look deeper into his past. There might be something we missed." The warden agreed. For the next 3 days, Do-Hyun spent his free time looking at records of the Malgarian's past. He found something interesting. The diplomat had visited many worlds known for advanced science, especially places that worked on changing living things. Do-Hyun took this information to the warden right away. "I think the Malgarian has been changed," he said. "Maybe his body was altered to not feel fear around humans." "That's very concerning," said Warden Bae. "If they can remove the fear of humans." "There's more," said Do-Hyun. "I think he came here on purpose. The weapon selling might be real, but I think he wanted to be caught." They ordered a complete search of the Malgarian's cell. Hidden inside his bed, the guards found small pieces of metal and plastic. They were parts of a device that could shut down the prison's security systems. When they confronted the Malgarian, he didn't deny it. "Very good, Officer Kim," he said with that same cold smile. "The humans I studied were never this smart." "Why target this prison?" Do-Hyun demanded. "Because of what it represents," said the Malgarian. "Humans guard not just prisoners here, but knowledge. The truth about who really has power in the galaxy. As long as Deathworlders like you have authority, the natural order is backwards." The Malgarian was moved to a special cell with extra security. Investigation showed he was part of a group that wanted to fix the natural order of the galaxy, with humans at the bottom, not the top. 1 week later, Warden Bae called Do-Hyun to her office again. She gave him a special badge that only the most trusted guards wore. The Malgarian was right about one thing, she said. We do guard knowledge here. The knowledge that true strength comes in many forms. That security isn't about who is physically strongest, but about understanding. Do-hyun looked at the badge in his hand. It had a small earth symbol on it with stars around it. There's something else you should know, said the warden. The Malgarian wasn't working alone. He was sent by a group called the Natural Order. They think Deathworlders like humans have too much power in the Alliance. Are they dangerous? Asked Do-hyun. Very, said the warden. They've tried 3 times to steal information from our lowest levels. Information about other Deathworlder species that humans don't know about yet. Why keep that information secret? Asked Do-hyun. The Alliance is afraid, explained Warden Bae. They worry about what would happen if all the Deathworlders found each other and worked together. They think we might take over. Would we? Asked Do-hyun. The warden smiled. That's why I like you, Officer Kim. You ask the important questions. The truth is, we don't know. Humans have only been part of the Alliance for 50 years. We're still learning our place in the galaxy. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars. The Natural Order group believes all species should stay in their proper places. Weak species on paradise worlds making art and philosophy. Strong species on hard worlds just trying to survive. No mixing, no helping each other. That sounds like a sad galaxy, said Do-hyun. It is, agreed the warden. And it's our job to prevent it. That's the real reason Deathworlder prisons only hire human guards. Not just because we're physically scary, but because we understand something important about power. It means nothing without responsibility. As Do-hyun left the office, he felt the weight of his new badge. He wasn't just a guard anymore. He was a protector of a better future. A future where different species worked together, using their different strengths. He walked past a cell where a large alien moved away from the door as he approached. The fear was still there. But now Do-hyun understood his job wasn't about using that fear. It was about moving beyond it. In a galaxy full of wonders and dangers, humans had found their place. The monsters who chose to protect rather than destroy. The Deathworlders who became guardians of life itself.